Hello, friends. I'm no therapist, but I'm your host, Stephanie Goodman. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a woman of faith. Often friends ask me how I have a successful marriage while blending families and staying optimistic in life. This podcast features people with real-life stories about success in relationships and triumph over trial. Welcome to our 1-year podaversary. This episode is a shout out to all of our guests who've shared real-life experiences in overcoming trials while using their gifts for good. We also thank you, the listener, as we've completed a full season of I'm No Therapist But. Today, Kels and I will be announcing the next chapter of our journey together. Hello, friends. Welcome to a very special episode of I'm No Therapist. But I do have with me my best friend, my favorite man in the whole world, and my return guest, Kels Goodman.
Ta-da! Oh my gosh, it's been so long. How's it going, Stephanie?
So good to have you back here in the studio with me, Kels. I hope life has been treating you well while you've been gone.
Oh yes, because I've been totally gone from this set. I just haven't seen it in so long. It's amazing.
We've missed you, and you've been in high demand.
Well, that's what I hear. That's what the analytics were saying. Where is Kels Goodman? But I've been here the whole time. Ha ha. Just the one guy pushing the buttons, which is what I'm doing again here right now. As you can see, this computer. For those of you who can see this on video, I have a computer in front of me, and I'm actually switching live as we talk. So they'll be good. They'll be awesome. And
well, as time flies by.
Okay, let's reveal the truth here to everyone. So
let's be vulnerable.
That's right.
Let's just get naked out there. Let's spill it out.
I'm good with that.
Behind the scenes.
So what we're gonna
no smoke and mirrors here, people.
That's right. It is fly season here, and we've just for the fun of it, just so you know, we've actually started this podcast about 4 or 5 times because there's a fly that keeps going. This is fly season, and it's been heavy, extra heavy this year because the summer. We here in Utah where we live, where we record this, we've had a record number of 100-degree plus days,
and probably the strongest winds I've ever experienced.
Oh yeah. It's been, the weather this summer has just been, we've had to work extra hard to keep our grass green, somewhat green, but it's been yellow a lot. Mm-hmm. So there's been a lot of work, and it's September 1st today. So it's still in the hundreds. And so it's still pretty hot. So,
it is. Yep.
So we're just going to have to live with it. But anyway, it's good to be here, Stephanie.
I'm happy to have you here, even amongst the flies.
Even amongst the flies. So if we tell a fly joke, that's why. So you'll see.
So why is this a special episode of I'm No Therapist? Well, we are coming to a new chapter in our life. And sometimes those chapters make us turn a page into a new adventure. And that's kind of where we are. This is my 1-year podaversary.
Podaversary. I like that. Podaversary. That's what's cool about podcasts is that a lot of times they do it in seasons. And you never know what a season is. You can do it any way you want. You remember in television, everything started in September, and you would do a season of episodes of a TV show. Huh. And you would do about 25 episodes. So you would record them all, throughout the summer before, and then you have them playing starting in September, and then November you'd have what's called the November sweeps, and that usually was the time in which a TV series was decided whether it was going to stick around or not. Huh. So some of the best episodes were in September. And then you would start getting some reruns, and then you get more new ones, And then up till May is when the season finale was there, and then it was over. And it was all always worked in some kind of method that we all kind of lived with. But podcasting is different. There's like no rhyme or reason to it. It's like you start it when you want, you can stop it when you want, and you can have as many episodes as you want. And it doesn't really matter. And so one thing I have to hand it to Stephanie is that Stephanie actually had 52 solid episodes back to back. You know, every week was a new episode for a full solid year. So that's bravo to you, Stephanie, on having that kind of material. So,
well, and I have to give a huge shout out to you in supporting me in this dream of putting together a podcast. I remember when we sat down and you finally shared with me that you had the equipment. If I was really serious about putting together a podcast, you would support me in doing it.
Yeah, that's right. And it started as we started doing things, remember, just audio. And so we did a few episodes audio, and then we started doing things with a camera. And at first, I think we had like 1 or 2 cameras. And then we switched to a 3-camera switching system, which is what I have here now. So now we have 3 cameras and we switch, if you see this on video. And so we kind of expanded. And we moved from the upstairs where we first did them for the first 4 months, and then we moved down here. We kicked out your son Michael, and we borrowed his bedroom, and so that's essentially where we're at. Is we're actually in his bedroom, but we've repainted it and refashioned it, you know, for.
I mean, some people start in their parents' basement. Some people start in their parents' garage. We started in my son's bedroom.
That's right. We just kicked him out and said, you know what? We need a podcast room. Out with you. So
it's kind of neat to look back and see how much our podcast has transformed.
Yeah. So tell me, Stephanie, I was kind of curious. I think it'd be good for your audience to know.
Yeah.
What got you started into wanting to do a podcast? What was the fire that made you want to get started with that?
Oh man, that was such a good question. Thank you for asking me that. The truth is, I have always been passionate about people's stories. I want to know, what have they experienced and learned that I can utilize in my life, in raising my children, in being a spouse, in just life experience in general. And then if I can learn that from them, when can I turn around and use it for others? What we go through can be a guidebook for someone else. And I believe that we have those experiences for those reasons.
Yeah, I think there's one thing that I recognize, because we are a remarriage. We both have been married before. And since we've been together, one of the things that's been interesting is we somehow seem to attract people who are going through tough times, whether it be their marriage, whether it be an addiction, whether it be a divorce, whether it be a child who's not doing what they want. There's always some kind of issue, and we seem to attract those, especially you. You seem to attract people who have these issues, and they always want to talk to you. And so it's almost like you became this natural attraction for people with challenges. And that, I think, also sort of made you not necessarily a therapist, but it made you somebody with letters behind your name, but made you somebody that had stories to share. Or you heard somebody else's story and say, well, this is what worked for so-and-so.
Right.
This is what worked for me. And we may not know the names of everything, but
right.
But we know that there are answers out there. And sometimes the answers are just a matter of getting them from someone else.
Yeah. And sometimes I've been in a space where I'm listening to someone, I've opened up my heart, and I'm just enjoying the journey of watching how these hard things have become something beautiful later on. And I'm so grateful that people are willing to share those stories with me. And oftentimes in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, man, I wish this was recorded.
Yeah.
I wish somebody grabbed this right now, because it is so profound the way that you're telling it to me, the raw emotion that's here, and what you've learned, who's been a mentor throughout that process, and how have you become stronger through it?
Yeah. Well, and I think I have learned a lot from those who have come in, who've had a strong story. Probably the ones that come to my mind the most have been Tao Harrington and Alema. And those are some highlights for me as far as people. Those two gentlemen, I think Alema is one that we just released last week. It's our last guest that we had on here. And he had an amazing story. But Tao was a few months before that. But they're brothers, and they both suffered from addiction, and they both had different stories. But what a neat example. And a part of what they've learned is from their experience of being an addict. Now they can teach others with their story, and it's what helps them overcome their addiction is by sharing their stories. That's what's going to make them succeed.
Right. Yeah, they give others the opportunity of learning through their eyes, and either give them tools to overcome it, or give others the insight, understanding of what goes on in an addicted mind.
Yeah. So what were some of your favorites? What do you
I
remember?
Don't dare answer that, because we have so many incredible guests that came. And thank you to my amazing guests for your willingness to come into our space, to have these cameras in your faces or recording equipment that Kels has set up, and be willing to share your stories. It's been really incredible for me to look back and see some of the subjects that we were able to cover with I'm No Therapist. But we reached out to people that had stories of relationship and triumph over trial. We talked with people who could give us tips about health, about death, right?
Yeah.
Physical health. We talked about forgiveness. We talked about mental health. We talked about suicide awareness. We talked about addiction and addiction recovery. There was adoption in there and being an adoptee. We talked about freedom and focus on what your goals and dreams are. We've had authors and actors and chiropractors and life coaches and even therapists.
Yeah.
Wow.
Real therapists. That's right.
That's right.
And they all seemed very patient with us. The few therapists that did come see us, they were very patient at the fact that they knew we weren't a therapist. That was one thing that I was actually worried about in this show, doing this show, is I was worried that if a therapist would come around and see what we were doing, mm-hmm. that there would be this kind of concern of, that'd be like,
it's kind of like bad medicine, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just sort of like if I were a filmmaker and I see somebody, I'm used to operating with cameras that are, bigger cameras, and somebody comes in with an iPhone and calls themselves a filmmaker, and they might actually produce some stuff that looks just as good as my large cameras, I mean, you just never know. And but it's just, and so it might be a little insulting, and that was the last thing we wanted. I was hoping for is not to insult, and I don't think we did. I think we successfully were able to have a therapist come in and kind of confirm or help with the information that we were trying to learn.
Right. And giving me the opportunity to really ask some deep questions really helped me to get connected with the situation at hand. And I hope that I was an instrument of asking questions that somebody else would want to know if they were sitting in this seat with me. But again, I just have to say a huge shout out to our amazing guests that were willing to share your vulnerable stories with us. We had some tearful moments. So grateful that I've had this tissue right here. We have had some powerful life-changing moments. We've laughed out loud. it has been so delicious to my soul to be able to capture these stories. And what's been really special is I'll be in a conversation with someone, maybe it's someone I know or someone that I've just met, and in the back of my mind, I will know, oh, I need to send them this episode of I'm No Therapist, but because it will support them in where they're at right now. And that has been so empowering to me to be able to have that plethora and treasure of knowledge to be able to share with others.
Yeah.
So you asked me what my passion was. That is my passion.
Yeah. Well, that's a good answer, Steph, because I think you did a lot of good. I think you did do a lot of good for a lot of people who became fans of you and what you did, and your patience to be able to get everybody scheduled, to get everybody here. I mean, there's some people that came in our home that I thought, I don't know if they want to come into our home, into our basement, and sit in front of 3 cameras and talk about, but they did. They still did. You know, Nathan Osmond, showing up.
Yeah.
What an awesome, that's another, I mean, they're all my favorite. Every one of them were really fun and informing, but Nathan Osmond came twice, and that was a really fun, those were fun episodes that we did, was with Nathan, and they were also very emotional. And he's an entertainer, so it was easy to be able to sit and talk with him because he just knew how to bring it out of you.
Yeah.
And so, but to have him in our home was like, hey, he's hanging out with us. Isn't this cool? And same with Alema. Alema is, he's a sportscaster for the Utah Jazz, and he's here in our home, and he's talking about some vulnerable moments. He's talking about, addiction. That's just the fact that they will actually come and actually sit and talk with us is just, to me, was amazing.
Yeah.
So,
and I enjoyed being able to talk with those who have taken their experiences and put them into a book form. Mm-hmm. We have many autographed books from people that came in and shared their stories with us, and what a rich collection of information and stories that we can share with others.
Yeah. Julie McNeil was one who was fun. We actually went on a little road trip to Idaho.
Yeah.
And we bought Julie McNeil's book about her looking for her adoption parents.
The 50-Year Secret.
50-Year Secret. And
That's
we sat and we listened to it all the way up. And it was really fun because then we got to really know her. And then when she showed up, there was almost like a little bit of a celebrity. Ooh, this is this is the person.
I know all about you.
That's right. I know all about you. And so this was the person we were reading about. So it's really fun.
And then we've also had guests who were willing to help me to cut my teeth into the Zoom world of meeting other podcasters.
Ah, yes, that's right.
I really appreciated them being able to share what it is that they're passionate about. And I have a notebook filled with notes that I've taken from pausing and listening and writing down tips and tools that my guests have all shared with me. And I think you might be a little guilty of doing that yourself.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of fun. So basically the way we'd do it is we'd record an episode, and then I would hand it to Stephanie, and Stephanie would go through and edit it. And then she would hand me the notes, and then I would go through technically, and because there's some editing. Some podcasts, I just have to tell you, I think our longest podcast was probably about 2 hours, and it required whittling it down because we knew that people weren't going to sit through it for 2 hours, And so, but each time Stephanie would go in and write it, and just doing the notes, it's almost like listening to it the next time. You learned a lot more after going through it.
Yeah.
So you probably experienced that.
Right. Yeah. So I want to take a moment and give a shout out to my husband, who has been by my side, who has helped me through some of those moments when I feel like someone else would do it better, right? Those vulnerable times, that imposter syndrome. You've also supported me in setting up the equipment. We've written intros that we've thrown back and forth, and some of them work out like magic, and some of them really, we worked hard to put together the right words for that. And I've taught you about hashtags and
Oh yeah,
Instagram.
I'm so great at hash brown. I don't know if anybody remembers that commercial.
Hash brown.
Hash brown. Yeah, you got to find that. I don't even remember what the commercial was for.
Take a selfie.
No need to photobomb you.
Photobomb, that's it.
Yeah, there's a commercial about a dude who, it's probably 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
And the guy was joking about hashtags, and he called it hash browns accidentally, which is cool. So
it's kind of like Tom Dixon
Yeah.
and you when you started your Will It Blend.
Yeah.
And he says, "Who-tube?
Who-tube?
What's Who-tube?
What's YouTube? What's this Who-tube?" Yeah, so cute. So that's about right. That's about, what is this Facebook thing? Book of Faces?
Book of Faces?
So I think we did that as far as one of our episodes of Will It Blend. We did a Facebook. Remember that? We had everybody's faces in a book.
We did.
And it was a joke. So
it was.
Stupid.
Yeah.
It was dumb.
Well, on top of all of our friends, I have to take a minute and say thank you to my family. I don't know how many people are able to say that their family is their biggest fans, but I believe that my family, my father, my mother, and aunts and uncles who have cheered me on through all these many episodes, I just have to say thank you.
Well, so there we could sit here and list all of the people that we had on our shows, and it would take all night, to do that all day. Yeah. And so we probably won't go through all of them. But I don't know if there's any you wanted to.
I will say that
highlight.
we had about 34 guests that were original coming on to our podcast, and 6 of them were repeat guests that came back to share their stories, part 2, which we really are so grateful for. And so let's talk about this. So our lives, I believe, are broken down into chapters. We can look in the past and see what we were dealing with that seemed probably scarier or heavier than we thought was possible. And we can see that we made it through it. And I know I value the experiences that I had in the past that have created me to become who I am today. And these new challenges will become more tools for me becoming in the future. So different chapters of my life have brought me new skills, and I feel like we're at that point in our life where we have a new chapter coming up. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
New chapters. So, okay, let's go into a new chapter. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just take a break from I'm No Therapist and for a while, and Stephanie's very sad about that. And so I want you to, if you're on video, you can see how sad she is. Look at that sad face. She's really sad about it. And I mean, that's
really, I am.
Actually sincere. That's a sincere sadness. But we all understand that time is an issue, and we're having to take a break for a little bit and just see what we're going to do next. And so we're going to do something fun next. And I don't have the artwork ready for we have a monitor so if you watch this on video, you can see that we We have a monitor over our shoulder. It's kind of fun, something that we put together, and it's a little animated thing. And I was going to have some artwork ready for this, but I don't have it ready, but I'm close. We're starting a new show that's going to be on a different channel, and it's going to be called American Yard Sale. And
Woohoo! Say that again, baby.
I said it's going to be called American Yard Sale, dadgummit. So
American Yard Sale.
Yeah, it's going to be all
Coming
American.
to home near you.
That's right. And so in American Yard, the concept of American Yard Sale is this. Now, Stephanie and I love to travel, and our biggest traveling we love doing is we love road tripping. We love getting in the car and just going. If you've heard any of our other podcasts, such as the famous one about us being up on a parasail and trying to do the podcast from a parasail while I'm getting sick. It's cute, it's fun.
Dream come true.
Total dream come true. That's right. And so so as we road trip, we hit a lot of towns, especially this last road trip we did in October, where we traveled for 16 days. One time we did a road trip for 28 days.
We did.
And it's while we were filming Hidden in the Heartland.
Mm-hmm.
But while we were doing that, it was like really fun. We'd go to all these small towns and we would see these antique shops, or we'd see, there's that one big antique shop in Missouri that we never got to go to and they closed, but it looked really cute. And you remember that, and that was fun. And every once in a while, you just see something that's really cool. And so we thought it would be fun to do a show where we go town to town and we just go find some yard sales, especially the bigger ones like estate sales. And we would go and see what they have, if there's anything of value or merit or a story behind it, which is really what we're after,
That's what I was drawn to, was being able to gather their stories. Why is it that this is something that they have a passion for? Have they made it a lifestyle of collecting? Yeah. And who introduced it into their lives?
That's right. And so we decided, we thought, well, that would be fun to do, but it's also more expensive. It's a bigger risk. It's also a greater, you'd probably be a better success as far as numbers, because we have to think of numbers, things like that. But it would be a greater risk. So we decided to start by doing the show with Stephanie and I going through my stuff. Now, what is my stuff? What is Kels's junk? So here's what it is. I have boxes and boxes of collectibles, Star Wars collectibles. I have Star Trek collectibles. I have Batman collectibles. I have Pez's and Viewmasters and all kinds of stuff that I just love to collect, especially when it's older. The older the better, or the rarer the better.
Yeah.
And so Stephanie, bless her heart, has sat with us, and we've actually already recorded a bunch of episodes where I've gone through my stuff, cleaned it up, in hopes of starting something where we could actually go elsewhere with it. But we started by just doing it in our own home.
That's right.
So.
And I'm putting away my business attire to throw on some t-shirts.
Yeah.
Well, we have some fun t-shirts to play with, don't we?
Yeah. And this is actually strictly a video series. This will not be a podcast. This will be a YouTube series. And it'll probably start sometime in September, later this month. We've already shot about 15 episodes, and so we're ready to assemble some of them.
Yeah.
We're actually going to put a lot of my stuff on eBay and simultaneously. So the eBay stuff will go up while the shows go up. Hopefully that they would, kind of tease each other. Mm-hmm. And then the goal would be to start moving to other people who've got other collections, because we know they're out there. We know you're out there. And so, in fact, this is kind of an indirect call. If you've got cool collections with stories behind them, we would be happy to either, Zoom with you or come to your house with a couple of cameras or something, and then we can just talk about them.
Yeah, we want to hear your stories. What is it that brings you joy from the items that you've chosen to collect?
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
We want to know What motivates you?
I know we've got a good friend who has a great baseball collection. So, the examples, we know other people who've got bigger, more grander Star Wars collections than I've got.
Yes.
There's a lot of people with some really cool stuff.
Batman, what's your favorite superhero and why? And how were they introduced into your life? And why do you choose to buy that action figure? Now, I worked hard not to say doll.
Yeah, that is an issue. So, because they're not dolls, they're action figures. So, we got to get that straight, Stephanie. So,
I have a question for you on that level of passion.
Sure.
Were you the type of kid who loved to get the Happy Meals, or were you the type of kid who could not wait to get to the prize that was in the cereal box?
Oh yeah, I was a prize guy. Yeah, that hand went right on in there,
dug right through all the cereal.
You know it. So
you had the skills.
Yeah, I needed the goods. Then I'll eat the cereal. Promise. And it was pretty bad. And then when I got older and I was able to do, when Star Wars had its 20th anniversary, we were always at Taco Bell or at KFC or at 7-Eleven just to get the Star Wars stuff. I admit it. I confess. So it's a bad habit. So yeah.
But this is the thing. When he talks about his collection, he comes alive. There's a spark that comes in his eyes and a smile that comes across his face. And I love that about him. And this is why I have no problem supporting him in living his dream and being able to move forward on this American yard sale, which will be a lot of fun because it's another shared adventure that you and I get to have. And I'm so grateful that you are willing to share those adventures with me.
Well, and I am honored that I get this cute girl by my side to talk, because every nerd has to have a cute girl by their side, just like in the 80s movies, the John Hughes movies, where it's like you're a nerd and it's like there's this cute girl and oh my gosh, she loves me. And the fact that you would actually sit there and wear a Star Wars shirt or whatever we're talking about shirt is just awesome to me. That's just, it's every nerd's fan, or every nerd's, what am I trying to say? Dream. That's it. Dream girl. So thank you, Stephanie, for being my dream girl.
Well, you've worked so hard in helping me to put this dream together, and it's not a forever close. It's a pause.
Definitely.
And we'll be gathering names and stories for a new season of I'm No Therapist. But while you have the chance, please go back, see all of our amazing guests who have taken their time and sacrificed their families and what have you to be able to come and share their stories. Share it with your friends and family members, whichever you feel drawn to, because I believe that these stories make a difference in people's lives. We'll be having a good time learning with your new podcast. I'm no therapist, but I did marry a film man and he knows his stuff.
That's right. I try to. So, no, I do, but you make it so much fun, Steph. And I also have to say that I'm No Therapist will be back probably in some form or fashion. So don't think it's over. We're going to keep them rolling as best as we can. But I'm No Therapist. In one way or another, it will return. I have no doubt about that. So anyway.
So a huge shout out to my audience, my listeners, my followers. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. Thank you for sharing your words, that maybe one podcast really touched your heart and that you were able to share it with someone else. And thank you for being a part of my family on Instagram and Facebook. It has been such a growing experience for me, and I'm so grateful for everyone that's come together that made this possible. And of course, I must thank that incredible man upstairs, my Heavenly Father, who placed this in my heart. And I'm grateful to be an instrument in His hands. If you've enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe, share, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. Please comment, because I would love to hear about what you think and what you want to see in the future. I'm no therapist, but I am your host, Stephanie Goodman.